What is up, everybody? You're listening to the Texture Pop Podcast. I'm your stand-in host, Chris Acharya, as our ever-vigilant leader, Sam, is feeling a little less vigilant as he is working hard and tired.
He's fucking exhausted, dude, because he's been working hard.
Well, that's what happens when you own an Xbox One. And he's, got to pay for it now. Because his Kinect is making him work. I don't know.
And he's always watching.
It is. He can't sleep because he's afraid of the Kinect always looking at him, of the Xbox One.
Even if you pull the plug, it's still watching you.
And joining me, of course, we got Brandon Carey.
He is the one named Potter Coon.
I don't even. And
yeah, I'll explain that.
And of course, Garrett Glaze.
Hello.
Oh man, so I don't think it was too bad of a week this week. It was fairly eventful, although getting right into it, unfortunately we don't have any listener questions, but remember folks, if you ever want to ask anything, maybe share a dumb story with us, or hell, maybe you just want to hear us read something in our spectacular made-for-radio voices, feel free to email us at thetexturepop@gmail.com. So, getting right into it though, Brandon, I'm just going to let you start with your news story, because I know you're dying to talk about this.
Okay. So, there was an Atlas press event fairly recently, I think in the past few days, and at the end, they posted a brand new trailer for Persona 5, and everybody, including myself, jizzed themselves after watching it.
I'm going to be honest. For somebody that doesn't give too much of a shit about Persona, I got a little pumped for this.
It looks really good.
Yes, it does. I've always liked Atlas's art style, but I do like the touches they're adding to the new Persona game.
I mean, the big thing that I liked about it is it seems like they're doing something a little bit more interesting when it comes to running your character around a map. Because, I mean, in JRPGs in general, that's really all you're doing. You're just moving a character around. There's not really that much to it other than, interacting with a menu every once in a while. This actually looks pretty interesting, the fact of maybe some nice platforming and some parkour.
And some stealth gameplay, possibly.
Hopefully stealth, that's not shit. But because
it looks like the main characters are either some sort of costume superheroes or like costume thieves. Not entirely sure which one they are.
I saw them running and jumping off of shit. I want to see. I want to do that. I want to do that.
But the whole part is that what they're doing is they're not entirely legal, and they're very very aware of it.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. I could be wrong, but I almost get the feeling that this isn't going to be like Persona 4, where they only have their powers in some other world. This seems like something that's going to be like they're going to manifest their personas and shit in like the real world.
This does seem to have some hints of the older Persona games. In the older Persona games, you were fighting against demons in the actual town, like not in like some sort of mystery world, in the actual city.
And
it seemed like enemies in there were actually like demons and not like shadows.
Yeah. Garrett, you have any thoughts on it? Did you see the trailer?
Yeah, I did. I actually thought it was really good, and the Tumblr freaked out over it.
Did you see Twitter, like, the very next hour?
I did not.
I saw Tumblr.
There's already tons of Persona 5 artwork, and the game has not even been released.
Yeah, that seems like a given, though, with anything. Like, I still remember that whole Ghost Mystery Skulls video, like, not the actual music video that they did, but somebody made an animated music video off that song Ghosts, and sure enough, fan art was everywhere for it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't remember this much hype being there when, like, Persona 4 or, like, when Persona 3 Portable came out.
That's one of those things to where Persona 3 was, it was a highly regarded game, and it wasn't until Persona 4 when just everything kind of exploded. Like, everybody just got onto it, and I don't know what... And yeah, Persona 4 in itself is going to be a hard act to follow, but I think...
I think Atlas can do it, though.
Yeah, I think Persona 5 really does look like it has some great potential. So, I really hope that, like, the platforming and the running and jumping isn't just, like, something context sensitive. Like, I would like it to be to feel like it's actually, kind of involved, that's...
So you can press X to jump? Just anywhere?
Yeah, I would love that. I would fucking love that. Just in a conversation, I'm just jumping around like an idiot. Because I can.
Or bunny hopping because it's slightly faster than walking?
Yep. Speedrunning 101. That's how you save them frames.
I jump up, then fall down.
So, unless everybody else has anything else to add, I want to get to our next story.
Alright.
So, speaking of saving the frames, Naughty Dog kind of came out and was officially stating that it may be very difficult to get Uncharted for the PS4 running at 60 frames per second because they said, and I quote, "It's really fucking hard."
I kind of laughed when I heard the story. I mean, at least they're being honest.
Because they basically came out and said the reason why it's going to be difficult, because the PS4, it's an advanced piece of hardware, and next Uncharted game is not going to be one of these next-gen, last-gen kind of games. This is something that is specifically being made for PS4 and PS4 only. And the reasoning that Naughty Dog was saying was, and this was something that we had talked about previously, and I know Sam had even mentioned that, he would probably feel okay with it if they just come out and said, we can't get it to run at 60 frames per second because we want to make the game and the textures and everything look better. And that seems to be the case.
This is basically what they just said, yeah.
Yeah, according to them, they're trying to get the game to look more realistic. They want it to look as good as they possibly can. And the sad truth of that is they may have to sacrifice how many frames the game runs at. And this speaking personally, and this is just my opinion, I don't claim to speak for anybody. Me personally, I feel that frames per second matters more than graphical quality, in my opinion. How fast the game moves, to me, is more important than how good the game looks. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but...
Personally, I would rather 60 frames per second, but I will leave that up to the developer because it's not that important to me. But I would like them to at least stand behind their decision, which Naughty Dog seems to be doing in this case.
Yeah. I don't know. Garrett, what are your thoughts? Are you still there?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm still here. Honestly, I've been playing PC games a lot recently, so I've noticed now that 30 frames a second and 60 frames a second really is better. But going back and playing on a console, you don't really take notice to it for some reason, playing on a console. So I don't know. If they want to make better graphics, and they just flat out came out and said, look, it's really hard, we can't do it, then that at least, I don't know. While I have a problem with it and I wish it was 60 frames a second, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's a console game.
If you're in the console space, you're kind of used to that, honestly. It's not something that you really care that much about.
Yeah, it's a console game. Everyone's expecting it to come in 30 frames a second, and at least they tried. At least they made it seem like they tried, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and, like I said, I'm not angry with Naughty Dog or anyone specifically. Like I said, it's just my kind of personal stance. I think frames per second is a better priority than just making the game look more realistic, because it's just one of those things of, you can have something that looks really pretty, but if it moves sluggish, that's a problem. And granted, I'm not saying 30 frames a second is sluggish, but sometimes it does make it different. And I'm sure if Sam was here, he'd probably be defending that.
Sam would be like, oh, no, it's totally sluggish. 60 frames a second. I mean, 60 frames a second is nice, absolutely. But,
yeah.
I mean, if you can't get 60 frames a second...
30 is passable.
Yeah. 30's fair.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
And I'm still eager to see what the next-gen Uncharted is going to look like. So we'll just have to wait.
I've always been a big fan of that franchise, so I'm probably going to end up getting it anyway. So.
It's a really good series.
I played every game with the exception of anything released on the Vita for it, because why bother?
Yeah.
Let's not get into
I
that.
got it free on PS Plus, the Uncharted Vita game. It's terrible.
But, who knows?
Just ignore it. It never happened.
Maybe if you, the listeners, want to let us know, what do you think is more important? Graphics in the game, texture quality, or frames per second? Tell us. We'd like to know.
And I wonder, Garrett made a point about how it doesn't seem to matter that much when you're on the console as opposed to the PC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wonder if the fact that the PC's monitors tend to be a bit smaller than television sets, that in television sets they're a bit different technology.
I mean, especially with a monitor, a PC monitor, you're sitting closer to it.
Yeah.
As opposed to a TV screen where you're a good several feet away from it and you're sitting on a couch. Like, it probably doesn't get... So who knows? Maybe...
I'm probably about 4 or 5 feet away from my TV and my console right now.
What's funny is for Christmas, I got a brand new 32-inch flat screen TV, and my brother Dylan was like, "Hey, can I play BioShock?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." He's played on that thing more than he's used my TV more than I have. I'm always on my computer. My mom's like,
"Yeah,
hey, you know what you should do? Hook a HDMI cord from your TV to your laptop. See what that looks like."
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm playing League, on my big 32-inch TV, and my laptop screen's just the main map. Like, yes, map awareness.
Oh
there are people that have a tower PC, almost like a console. They just hook it up to the TV like that.
I do the same. I do the same thing. I have I don't have my desktop sitting right next to my TV, but I have a nice long HDMI cable.
If you
and I can
plug
run
an
it between
Xbox
the two.
controller in there, you've basically got a video game console
there.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
plug a USB controller and you're all set.
I have 3 controllers. I have 2 that are Xbox 360 official wired controllers, and then the other one is a Logitech controller with the layout of a PS3 controller.
Yeah, that's an interesting discussion. It's definitely something that we could probably do a whole hour on.
Yeah. So, getting right into it, Garrett.
I had another news story.
Oh, okay,
that
sorry.
Was not Persona.
News story. What is it?
Nintendo. They have a new revenue sharing program.
Oh,
it's fucked up.
Yeah. It's like, Nintendo, I want to like you guys, but man, this is...
Now, as...
Apparently, yeah, I haven't actually seen it, but I heard it's really bad.
As you guys are aware, Nintendo is notoriously awful when it comes to YouTube content creation.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a hint of a trailer or something on a YouTube video, they will do their damnedest to make sure that that they get the money. We all are aware of this, and that's why a lot of news media that's on YouTube doesn't tend to cover Nintendo very often if they can avoid it, or at least they don't monetize their particular videos. Now, there's a new Nintendo Creators Program where you can say, Nintendo, I want to be a partner with you, and Nintendo will take 70% of your ad revenue while you take the remaining 30%.
Ouch!
Yeah, Kotaku did a thing on that, and I just read that headline. It's like, new Nintendo thing, people already hate it. And I was like,
Furthermore, you have to write a notice on every video that has Nintendo-related stuff on it, saying that you are a Nintendo partner and that Nintendo does not officially endorse this video, but they are allowing it on YouTube.
Wait.
At least that's the gist of it. It's a longer thing, but I'm cutting it for brevity's sake. Furthermore, you must delete every Nintendo video that you've ever had prior to being a Nintendo YouTube partner from your web channel. So if any channel before you became a partner has Nintendo-related content, you had to delete it before signing up.
Yeah, I'm just... This is bullshit. I really can't describe it as any other thing. It's fucking horseshit. It's...
That is the entirety of the program, and it's I don't know, like there is the layer of awful with the ad revenue, how that's a bullshit split.
Yeah.
There's the whole thing where you need to put that notice on there, basically saying don't listen to my opinion because I'm a paid Nintendo sellout.
Yep.
There's the whole thing with the fact that you can't have any Nintendo videos before you become a Nintendo partner. That's not allowed. There's we're in 3 levels of complete total horseshit right now. We're 3 levels deep in horseshit, Chris.
Man, it's just fucking disgusting. And it's this kind of sad truth that Nintendo, there is sometimes the fact that they are a company that, out of any of the console makers right now, they are the most old-fashioned company that there is. They don't feel like putting out like set-top media boxes or anything that's going to play everything that's on a compact disc. No, they feel like making games. That is their strong suit. That's what they've always believed in. It's like if you can watch Netflix on a thing, but that's not like they really have to do anything extra to the hardware to support that. It's just a matter of it's online. I mean, there's a reason why Nintendo was kind of slow to adopt the whole online thing, and there is a reason. Yeah. I mean, because like I said, there's sometimes where I defend them being as old-fashioned as they are, because they never ever cared for the idea of trophies or achievements in games, because they've always kind of felt like that takes away from it, and it's not the kind of behavior we want to encourage in players. We think the game should be able to stand up. So I think that's good. But stuff like this, stuff like how they react to YouTube, this is where it's just being old-fashioned bites them in the ass, because they're just these old fucking dinosaurs that don't realize how much good there is for all those YouTubers out there that do all kinds of videos, let's plays, trailers, analysis, and the like.
There's someone, I forgot who asked this question, but I thought it was a really good question to ask. And if someone can figure out remember who it was, please remind me. But they asked, is it possible that the same people that we like in Nintendo that design all these really good games are the same reason that we get this kind of bullshit they are old-fashioned, and that's both good in terms of their game design and bad in terms of the fact that they just don't get online?
Yeah, it really is.
Are those things created for the same reason? Are those two stances fall into the same central pillar?
Because I would want to believe that when it comes to obviously you might have, whether it's Microsoft, Sony, or even Nintendo, there are people different from their marketing staff than there are I don't know, people who make some of the big executive decisions and the like. So I mean, I'm pretty sure even people in Microsoft and Sony, their marketing teams, they're able to look at various YouTubers and the like and say we could use this if people want to do stuff about our games. Why not? Although granted, Microsoft, it was some time ago when they kind of came out and said that they did not want people making revenue off of any of their first-party titles. And they had kind of said that, if you, depending on some of the stuff that they do, that they can claim copyright on it, and no one can really say anything. I don't know. But
a lot of the problem here is that even though this kind of content has been popular for a number of years now, it's still, in terms of the law, a very frontier space.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that has been really challenged, and that's where most of our law comes from. When one person challenges another person, says that's illegal, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Then the precedent established by those cases is what makes up modern day law.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the idea of even something like Let's Plays, if that's truly a transformative experience, if there's a difference between watching it and playing it, which there most definitely is. But aside from Let's Plays,
the courts have yet to make a ruling one way or the other, because no one's ever brought this to a court.
No, but aside from Let's Plays, there's also just like you said, trailers and the like. When you have people who don't even do Let's Plays at all, but people who talk about the various kinds of news and things going on in the gaming industry, and if they want to show anything from a trailer, the fact that Nintendo even gets pissed about that is disgusting. That is horrible. And it's completely stupid. It's
it's not that they get pissed about it, that they try to monetize that.
Yeah.
They try to take all the ad revenue.
Angry Joe had a video up that I was able to see before it was taken down, and it was him playing some games on the Wii U. And
I saw the reaction to them getting taken down. I didn't see the actual videos themselves.
I was able to see the actual video, thank God.
Damn.
And he was like, "Oh my fucking God, this is so awesome! I love this. Go out and buy a Wii U right now. I demand it. It's so fun." That video got taken down.
That's so stupid. That's free advertising.
That's free advertising, and they were having a blast too. It looked like a lot of fun, and his reaction, of course, was like, I know he's Angry Joe, but it's very rare for him to get that angry.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I think there's also a little of irony in Nintendo being the ones to do this, because most of the arguments that come from against this are that things like cutscenes and story-based content, they're the same no matter whether you play them or watch them, because it's just the same cutscene.
Yeah.
But with Nintendo in particular, that argument falls on deaf ears to me because they don't really care about story. They never really have.
Yeah, they
so
focus.
It's kind of like watching someone else play versus playing yourself. Those are nowhere near the same experiences.
And
Especially when it comes to Nintendo.
I've said it once. I'll say it again. I sold a copy of Ninja Blade. Granted, it was used, but I sold a copy of Ninja Blade. From Software fucking owes me. They don't, but still, it's yeah.
Anything you owe the world.
Someone went out and played because you did the Let's Play. It was awesome.
Yeah, they did.
Anything you owe the world because of that.
There's proof on Twitter about it. The proof is on Twitter. Someone bought a copy of Ninja Blade because of me.
Although, I heard the argument that it's not that, like, we're going to use Minecraft as an example because, of course, Minecraft's the most video game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But some people would say that, and I don't agree with this, but that Minecraft is the reason those Let's Players became popular because it was such a good game to Let's Play, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Or that they were both in a symbiotic relationship where they both helped each other become as successful as they were, but it wasn't one side favoring the other or vice versa.
I know we could probably go on about this forever, but the one thing I want to close on is Devolver Digital, who has been a very awesome publisher. They actively encourage anybody to talk about their games. Like, they love it. They don't care. And if people want to talk about their games and make revenue off their games, they don't care. Because that's free advertising for them, and then more people buy their stuff.
This is oh god, they made Hotline Miami.
Yes, they did. They published that.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're making Hotline Miami 2, which is banned in Australia. And someone, some people genuinely asked. They said, "Hey, your game is banned here in Australia. How should we play it?" And the guy's like, "Fucking pirate it. We don't care."
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, because they're making more money in that.
That's awesome.
Regardless of whether or not the game's pirated or not in that area, they're not making any money because they can't sell it. So at that point, why would they give a shit?
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, I get paid nothing, or I get paid nothing, and I might get some advertising out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh man, yeah. Feel free to let us know what your thoughts are, listener, in the comments or email us below.
This could take this is another one of those potentially hours-long discussions.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. So, getting into our usual shenanigans, Mr. Glaze, what'd you do?
What you doing?
Got my new hard drive installed. I think I might have mentioned that last time.
Yep,
I did. I've been playing Minecraft, getting into Gnar. Bought a bunch of CDs. I've got Vampire Weekend. I've got Jack White, Paramore. I've got Radiohead. I've got Wilco. I've got Green Day. I've got a bunch of stuff.
You bought music CDs? What do you live in the 90s?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We're having a yard sale. So now I wanted to actually buy the stuff. And I bought a Ramones and the Smiths.
Man.
I bought like a record. I bought a couple movies. One of the movies is Dragon Slayer, which is a documentary following this kid in California who's a skater and following him and his family during the economic collapse. Making a Galaga style game in our class because our thing was, okay guys, you're gonna make an arcade game, and everybody chose Galaga. It's like, okay, you guys are gonna make an arcade game.
No Pac-Man?
Like, so what are you guys making? Like, they're like, we're making Galaga. What are you making? I'm like, I'm making Galaga. What are you making? I'm making like Space Invaders or Galaga. What are you making?
I'm noticing a trend.
Everyone's making a top-down space shooter. Yeah, everyone's making like a top-down space shooter game. It's like either Space Invaders or Galaga.
Wow.
It's actually that's actually one of the more simple arcade games to make.
It's really easy to make.
I can't help but be hearing you mention that. I was reminded of something I saw on one of my favorite channels, Lazy Games Reviews. Guy, he does a lot of stuff about like old MS-DOS games and old computers and stuff like that. But as well as like modern stuff like modern day Sims and everything. But he was talking about this guy. I can't remember his full name, but this guy's last name was Chomp or Champ as he'd pronounce it, because he was a French guy. And he wanted to learn programming, and in his spare time, he would just remake some of his favorite arcade games, like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Asteroids, all this stuff. And eventually, he started like releasing those and selling them. Now, how he was able to do this legally, I don't know. But basically, the Champ arcade games, as they were called, were something that was only sold on MS-DOS, and they were basically pretty faithful recreations of those old arcade games that he was making. I think eventually he did have to stop making them, but it was really interesting the fact that he was able to recreate these games in his own way. Because there were times where he would he'd kind of fuck with them and just improve, maybe add like new modes or something crazy. It was really interesting. So you ever just look up, MS-DOS Champ arcade games, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll probably leave a link to it.
Interesting.
That's really cool. I came up with a couple game ideas, actually. I was
Ooh, let's hear that.
I sent in a few voice auditions to be in the Zoophobia animation, so hopefully those go through. I have a couple. I did a couple, like I did some for Damien, who's my favorite character. He's the Antichrist. It's funny. He's the Antichrist. His dad's literally the devil, but the dad's like, I want you to be evil, and instead Damien is just this kid who wants to go to school, hang out with his friends, play a banjo.
I hate you, vampire dad.
Yeah, he's like, Dad, I just want to go to school, and I want to hang out with my friends and read comics and play the banjo and play video games. Like he doesn't want to be an Antichrist. He's a great character, and actually the relationship between him and his dad really reminds me of mine with my dad growing up in New York. So I think that's why I really the artist. I was talking to the artist when we were playing Left 4 Dead, and she said, I do see a lot of similarities between you and Damien. You're just a lot nicer. And I was like, oh, and that's the last thing she said
that's
to me.
Awesome.
I sent in my voice auditions, and I haven't heard anything back. So I'm like, oh, shoot. But the one I'm really feeling confident about is this character named Major Sticks, who hopefully I get the part for that, because that'd be really cool.
Nice.
It's a blue demon guy. Yeah, blue demon guy. But other than... So there's that, and then the games I came up with, while reading the comic, I came up with an idea where you could actually play a demon. And I thought, what if it was like a mix of... Because everything's kind of been done already.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing you can do is like mix things, or like you can't make an open world sandbox game. People are gonna be like, oh, it's like just
the way to be original is to combine old ideas in new ways.
It's like, oh, Grand Theft. It's like, I want to make an open world sandbox game. Someone goes, okay, Just Cause, Grand Theft Auto, stuff like that. Like Saints Row. But I was gonna have like a kind of an open world game where you play like a demon of some sort, and it could like the story progression could be kind of like Watch Dogs, but a little more open. And I thought about like, what if some of your powers could be like, wall run, like wall crawling, you can see in the dark. So I was thinking like The Darkness, but like a third person Watch Dogs-esque kind of game, and you don't use guns or anything like that. You just rely on your powers and stuff like that. And I had a bunch of scenarios. I was actually kind of writing them down. And then the other one I didn't come up with a name for that game, but the other one I came up with was called Iron Aurora.
That's an awesome sounding title.
Yeah, thank you. Because an aurora is a specific ray of light, an aurora, and this is the Iron Aurora. So this is an airship.
So before
it'd be an open.
I just want to say. Go on. I just want to say, before you even give me like what the actual game is, the title alone is like, I want to play this. This sounds fucking awesome.
That's a very good title, and there are a lot of shit titles in the video game space.
This is a great title.
Thank you. I actually, my teacher was like, "Yeah, I come up with a name for the game," and I was
especially when everyone seems to have a title of X of Y.
Yeah, I honestly I couldn't think of a good name for it, and I just came up with something. I was like, I was gonna call it like Steel Battalion. I wasn't sure what to call it. I'm like, oh, that's an already made game. And then eventually I looked up. I was like something metal. I was gonna call it like bronze. Like I wasn't sure. And then Aurora Borealis. I remembered that, and I was like Iron Borealis, and then I thought Iron Aurora, and I looked it up. And I was like, oh yeah, Aurora's a thing. So I decided to call it Iron Aurora, and my teacher fucking like slow clapped when I said the name.
Oh man, yeah, I know. It's
so that was but the game would be open world, like it would be an open world game, kind of like Skyrim, but it'd be all steampunk. It'd be a steampunk game, and I even have its own story. It'd be a third.
That'd be so cool.
That sounds so fitting.
Yeah, I
would love to use like steampunky weapons in a kind of open Skyrim kind of game.
Yeah,
you do.
It'd be a third-person game. But the thing is, instead of there would be no fast traveling. Instead, you call in your airship, and it brings down like the ladder, like a little like ladder with the rope, and you zip up to your airship and you fly it around. And you can have a multiplayer mode where it's like Guns of Icarus, where you're having like airship battles. And every once in a while you're traveling around to a location, you could get into an airship battle and have to battle your way through. And then you land in a town and you dock, and there's like a dock for airships, and you come down. It's like it'd be all steampunky. So it'd be like in this world of like a steampunk airship, Guns of Icarus, Trigun style area, with an open world aspect of Skyrim.
Ooh, that would be good, but challenging to do.
Yeah.
You need to copyright this shit. This is...
Yeah, and then at the end, there's I was thinking, oh shit, I'm trying to think, but let's and third person, and what I have a story and everything for it, because hyenas are my favorite animals and lions are their rivals. So I figured, like, what if there were like two warring factions of like these gnoll-like
The Lion King?
No, but like these this like warlike faction, or this war between like these gnoll-like people and these lion-like people, and the hyenas are kind of like the gnolls are like considered like thuggish, and the lions are like prideful, and they're the reason the earth looks so desolate at the time, like it's so industrialized, is because they've been kind of ruining the earth, kind of like building these war machines to fight each other. They've been like really industrializing. It's like a Cold War, except it's actually going on. Like,
it's kind of like a trope of steampunk, is that the place is desolate, isn't it? That's kind of like something that steampunk just tends to do.
Kinda.
It's a little like Trigun, but you have cities that are like really, and then that are really like industrialized, and then there's these certain areas that are sanctuaries, and they're like the last small patches of natural landscape left. And you can go inside, and it's like you can experience like a little bit of what the world was like before the war started, and you can like continue the war on either side. You can make peace, stuff like that. Like, I figured it'd be really, really cool.
That sounds pretty dope.
It does sound really cool.
Yeah, and the teacher's like, do this in like your fourth year when you're
once you've had
college.
Some experience under your belt, that might be
because right now we're using Game Maker, and like Mario is kind of a challenge. So but yeah, so I was really happy to make that. But yeah, the teacher was like, come up with a game, and I came up with that, and I was like, yeah, it's not really good. And then I said this thing, and honestly, people seemed really into it, which was cool.
Like I said, you need to copyright that shit. Like,
no, thanks guys. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Other than playing League, coming up with games, and doing stuff for school, been getting into drawing a lot more. That's about it.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of game related stuff. Finally, have every game downloaded on my 2 terabyte hard drive, and I still have I have 600 gigabytes used, and that's about it. But I have 2 terabytes, so it's all good. So I'm happy with that. Other than that, not a whole lot else going on.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
So Brandon.
Okay, my beats in terms of gaming stuff has been light. I've only played one game, but I've been playing the shit out of this one game. I got it from start to finish. I was playing Final Fantasy VI.
Ooh, oh man.
And this is my first time I've ever played Final Fantasy VI. It's one of the two. It was one of the two that I've been pulling off for the longest time because I couldn't find them for cheap enough.
It's like if Garrett was having his first time watching The Godfather.
Oh, I love The Godfather.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, aside from 3, this was the only main title of Final Fantasy that I never played.
Mm.
And now that I've finally gotten around to it, I can definitely see why so many people like this game. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to like. It's aged fairly gracefully.
Yeah, 16-bit graphics, I think. Super Nintendo games, I think, still hold up really well. Now, I have to ask, you're playing this on a PlayStation, or...?
I was playing the PS1 version that I got off the PlayStation Store.
So you're seeing, some of the, extra, CG cutscenes and stuff that they threw in?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get a good look at Kefka in there.
Yes. Of course, I played Dissidia, so I knew what Kefka looked like, what the design was supposed to be, because he has the 3D model in Dissidia.
That kind of reminds me. My little sister is selling her entire room because they're doing this. They're doing yard sale day soon. And she's like, I have to sell a bunch of stuff, and she's taking everything from her room.
Wow.
And she called me a hoarder because I didn't have. I'm like, I don't want to sell anything. She's like, what about your movies? I'm like, those are my movies. Don't touch them.
No shit.
I'm like, I have over 400 movies, and all of them are staying right where they are.
That is a very extensive film collection.
It is a lot, but I'm like, no movies are moving. All of them.
If
Sharktopus, Sharktopus is a masterpiece, underappreciated. I love it. No, I'm just kidding.
I will admit,
I have a lot of fun memories watching that.
I will say right now, while I do not have that extensive a movie collection, if I try to count every single game I owned, that's.
Yeah,
yep.
But she was like, sell some movies. I'm like, no. She goes, you're a hoarder. But one of the things she pointed out was Chrono Trigger on the DS. I have that on the DS, and I remember getting that. And I skipped. There was there was a day at my high school where they would be like, okay, so you're gonna come in and you're gonna do we're gonna get on buses and we're gonna go around and we're gonna do charity work. You're gonna go to people's houses and rake and stuff. And my dad's like, that's bullshit. Do stuff around my house, damn it, kid. So my dad.
Ironic that you mentioned Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, but my dad was like, yeah, you don't have to go to school today. And that was one of the things I did was I did my chores and then I drove with my friends to Best Buy in Watertown and I saw that and I bought it. And I was like, I'm never getting rid of that. And I actually started playing that again. But anyway, I'm sorry. So yeah, Chrono Trigger on the DS. What were you going to say, Brandon? I'm sorry.
It's ironic that you mentioned Chrono Trigger in my discussion of Final Fantasy VI because when I played both those games on the PS1 versions,
right,
I noticed the same thing almost at the similar time frames. Is that the PS1 loading times on those SNES style games were not great.
No,
they were in fact pretty bad. Every scene transition, every time you go into the menu, takes 2 seconds too long.
Yeah,
why does that remind me of? Someone did a fan edit of Resident Evil where they edited out the doors, like the little door loading screen. Yeah, they edited that out. I don't know how,
but it's these are 16-bit games. Even on the PS1 technology, these were not very intense.
And I want to
pieces.
It's been a while since I touched either of those because I owned the physical copies of those back when they were re-released. And the thing was, I want to think that they didn't try to use they didn't try to replace the soundtrack with fucking orchestrated CD audio.
They didn't. Not in FS6. It was still chiptune.
Yeah, still the MIDI format.
Yeah.
Yeah,
didn't the Resident Evil director's cut try and change the song and it was absolutely fucking hilarious?
I have no idea.
I think Kid Icarus did a article on.
I feel bad for noticing that because it's not something I can necessarily blame Square Enix for, because it seems like just something that was endemic of the time. But it's just I don't get why they had to be that terrible at loading. It's only a few seconds, but if you compound a few seconds to every time you change scenes and every time you go into the menu, that adds up.
Yeah, it's like the old PS3 version of Bayonetta, to where
what happened to that?
Yeah, PS3 Bayonetta, it had to load a lot more often. Like, even if you went to like the
maybe
upgrade menus.
Maybe because I played the digital version, but I didn't notice that much at all.
Yeah, I think when it was initially sold on DVDs.
No, I take that back. Yes, I did.
Yeah. Yep.
The pause menu loaded, didn't it?
Well, at least when you load, you could still practice your moves in the loading screen. So that was something, but yeah.
But like even going into the upgrade menu.
Yeah, like the pause menu had to load and shit like that.
And I mean, this is also from an era where random encounters were still thought to be a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
And I played a lot of JRPGs in my day. Random encounters have become a bit of a pet peeve of mine. If you have random encounters, I will vehemently say that was a bad decision. I will never agree with that. Like from now until the end of time. But I mean, it was at the time you can't blame FF6 for having those, because that was just something that technologically it was the only way they could have encounters in those games.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily say it's their fault, because it's not. It's just something that it's one of those mechanics it's one of the ones that has aged over time. And so when you play an old game, you just kind of have to accept that fact. But aside from that, the game, it's actually, even to this day, it's still very well designed.
Like how far have you gotten?
I beat it. I beat the entire game.
Oh, so you got to witness
the span of this week.
You got to witness the majesty of some of the greatest moments, not just in that game, but probably in any game in history. Like when a dude gets to suplex a train.
Yes,
that's a
Sabin suplexed the Phantom Train.
Yes.
Although after that, I realized that I am fighting undead enemy. I just use a Phoenix down and it dies instantly. Because that was one of the cheats. Like a lot of the early Final Fantasy games, there was always that one undead boss. And as you remember in classic Final Fantasy lore, revive kills zombies.
Yep. Anything that heals.
Yes, and since like using an X potion will restore all your HP in a zombie, that will kill them to death.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting a really tough undead boss, the secret is just to throw a Phoenix down at it. Because revival will end up being the opposite of revival, which is death.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, it's a very dark story.
Yeah, it is.
Core. Like, they are not shy about killing dudes.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that kind of made FF6 such a landmark, was... Yeah. Up to that point, 4 was probably one of the most noteworthy games. 5, I don't know too many people who talk much about 5, but...
I like 5, but I didn't like it towards the end, because it got kind of unnecessarily difficult.
So, but 6 was where they did not pull any punches on that.
Yeah.
Like, and before 7...
And keep in mind, this was originally an SNES game.
Yes.
You were not allowed to use the word die.
Yeah, I mean, this was... To this day, that game is still considered probably like the fucking magnum opus of the Super Nintendo, among many other things.
Yes. And there's a good reason, like... There is a huge debate over Final Fantasy fans over which is the quote-unquote best Final Fantasy game. I don't know if it's the best or not. That's a whole different debate you could spend literally weeks having.
But you're going to remember that shit.
But it's going to be in my top 3.
Oh, God, yeah. That's still one of those things, like, I go back to saying I shit on Final Fantasy as a franchise, but that is one of the, like, trilogy of games that, out of that franchise, that I really love.
Why Why you should on purpose?
And Kefka is a really good villain. Kefka is a really entertaining villain.
Oh, yes.
Because the translation at the time was it's just really good. It was a really good translation.
Which was not often in those days.
Because you gotta remember, translating literally from English to Japanese and vice versa is really, really boring to read.
Yep.
The literal translations are not only boring, but they're grammatically oftentimes really wrong.
Oh, your base. Our base.
Yeah.
So you just have to, when you're doing that, you have to basically not only translate it, but then turn that somewhat nonsense phrase into something that an American or a European can understand. And that is easier said than done.
Basically, yes.
So yeah, whoever did translation, I think his name was Woolsey, or Woolsey, whatever, doesn't matter, did a really good job with not only the main characters, but especially the villain of Kefka.
Oh god, yeah, that's one of those things a lot of people
He has
remember
a lot
about the game.
of memorable quotes, definitely.
And it's also, as well as his little 16-bit laugh that they tried to give him.
Yes. My favorite was when your heroes are all giving him the "you need to learn how to love" speech before the final boss fight, and he goes, "You all sound like chapter from a self-help book." But yeah, the game it's not only that, it's also interesting how in the first half of the game it's very, very like typical Final Fantasy. It's linear, like you have a very big world, but you're exploring it in a very linear fashion, going from one location to the next.
You know, it's not the fucking hallway from 13, but
you get the point. It's a very open world, but you are going from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
But in the second half, it's much, much more open. You basically have 3 characters, and you can say, "Oh, you could get the rest of them if you wanted to." But if you want to, you can just move to the final boss lair and just take him on right now if you'd like. You'll die, probably, but you could.
Yeah, because that was also a thing with Chrono Trigger. Like, they did something similar to where you could fight the final boss earlier than expected, but you weren't really expected to live, so...
Yeah, like
they were like,
in Chrono Trigger, they always tempted you with that little pot at the end of time where it said, well, you can use this pot to go to the part where the end-all, be-all bad guy is trying to destroy the world and just fight him if you want to. You'll die, but you can do it if you want to.
Yep, you can try it. Good luck, idiot.
So yeah, like the second half is basically kind of like an Ocean's 11 building the team montage. Where you not only just it's like Mass Effect 2 in a way, where you build the team, resolve their issues, make them strong, and then once you have the team is all ready, you can go and fight the final boss in the final dungeon.
Especially when like one of the guys you can recruit, he's a fucking ninja.
Yeah, Shadow.
Yep.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh god, no.
My favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
It's also pretty cool how many overpowered combinations there were in the game. Like there's an accessory called the Genji Glove which lets you equip 2 weapons. And there's another accessory that lets you attack 4 times. You combine those, you have 8 attacks in one single fight move. It's one single attack. It's godly.
Yep.
And there are a lot of other combinations, and it's just a really good game, man.
Yeah, it is. That's one of those things. Like, if there is ever a time where I'd recommend, like, you know, people want to check out why people love Final Fantasy, like, at all, just play that one. If not 4, you know. So
I mean, there are a couple parts where you just kind of go, like, that's bullshit. Like, there's an optional mission in the second half of the game. It's a tower, but the twist is that you can only use magic while you're climbing the tower. And there are no save points.
Oh, man. It's always the optional shit in a Square game that it's like, what the hell are they thinking? It's like, this is way too fucking hard.
But, I mean, aside from that, I never found the need to grind either. I thought the game was pretty easy, generally. At least in my opinion. Some people will probably disagree. But I never felt the need to go out and grind for magic or for levels. I never felt that need because I always felt like I was strong enough to fight the villain, the boss that I was about to face. Especially when you get to the later parts of the game, you get all the overpowered moves and equipment and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah, it's just a very well designed game, and I do like the sections too, where you have all these characters. You have to break them up into multiple groups. You have to switch between multiple groups to solve the different puzzles in the dungeon, and it not only forces you to level up different characters as opposed to just the main 4 group of people, but it also forces you to adjust your tactics pretty much on the fly when you're fighting random encounters, because different setups will have different strategies to fight monsters because they have different character abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if either you two have played FF6 before. I assume you have.
I will admit, while I've played at least a good portion of it, I never completed it. It's.
And another thing I liked about the game is that it never felt like there was a protagonist, but that wasn't a bad thing. Like, it felt more about this group's coming together to fight the one bad guy as a group.
Yeah, it was never focused on any one single character. There was a number of them. Like, I have such a big ego, so sometimes I'll just name myself after the main hero, unless it's 7, and then I don't give a shit. But, like, 6 was one of those times where it's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let the characters just be the characters because I'm more interested in that. Like,
yeah, because it's not really about any one character. It's about how they all come together.
Yeah. So some people would argue it's about the female heroine that you're introduced to at the beginning. Yeah.
Or Tina if you're in Japan.
I never knew that.
Yeah, in Japan the American names are fairly exotic. So they named the character Tina because that's an American name. It's a very exotic name in Japan. Whereas in America, the name Tina, it's not that exotic.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Very common. So they named her Terra instead.
Huh.
To get that feeling of exoticness that she has as a character.
Interesting.
But I do like that there is no real protagonist. Like in FF7, the story is about Cloud.
Yeah.
He is the one that does all the heavy lifting in terms of the plot. And the characters are more of his supporting cast, whereas in 6, there is no protagonist. It's just this group is coming together to fight an evil which they all agree is bad and needs to get punished.
Yep, and it's Kefka. I think to this day, he really is like one of the most charismatic villains that they've had throughout the franchise's history. Like,
yeah, he's not only like a good villain, but if you take his quotes in the context he delivers them, they're really, really, if you think about them, really evil things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not like a lot of villains from Final Fantasy are just so fucking deadpan and boring. Why the hell does everybody think Sephiroth's so awesome? He's not. He's a fucking...
Because he was the introduction of Final Fantasy to many, many people.
Yeah.
My very first Final Fantasy game was 7.
And Garrett's not alone. A lot of people, like, that is their first Final Fantasy game, so naturally they'll like the first villain that got them into the franchise, which was...
To be fair, I will agree and say, hey, he wasn't the best villain. I thought
For
he was
me,
good.
My first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy X, so Jet was my first villain, or like Jet or Seymour. It's debatable which one was like. There's really no real villain in FF10. There's like a lot of other antagonistic characters.
Even then, both of them are Jet and Seymour. I'm sorry, they're garbage, but.
Yeah, well, Seymour is just stupid.
Yep.
I kind of like Jet, though.
I'll be honest, I didn't play enough of 7 to actually see what Jet was like as a character, so...
You mean 10?
Yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
You don't care about either one of them.
I can tell the difference between 3 games, 4, 6, and 12.
Oh, Vaughn. No one gives a shit about Vaughn.
No, there's a lot of other characters I give a shit about in 12.
12 was about Ash and Balthier.
Yeah. and that Han Solo dude that roamed around with that bunny chick. So
that's both here.
Yeah, exactly. Just talk about 6 again. Just...
I mean, I'm pretty much done. I've covered everything that really need to be discussed with 6. If anyone has any questions about the specific things that they want my opinion on,
not that I could think of. I already know how you felt about the suplex train, so I'm just gonna. I'm satisfied.
I mean, the other cool thing is that magic works a little differently in 6. Like, instead of there's one dedicated mage character, most of the characters in the game in your party can learn magic through using what's known as magicite and just kind of like training with it. They can develop magical powers. So anyone can become a mage, but there are some people like Terra or Celeste who are clearly better at it than others.
Right. I don't think we need to explain everything, though. This game is on PS Store. Go play it.
If you haven't played FF6 before, like I was circa 1 week ago, it's definitely worth playing at least one time. Yep. At least once. Just so you know why people look at those old Final Fantasy games with rose-tinted glasses.
I want to say there was a version of it on Steam. I don't know.
Not 6, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I could be wrong.
7 and 8 are on Steam.
So is 4. And 3.
Yeah,
look it up. Prove me wrong.
3 was. I knew 3 was. I didn't know 4. I had to look that up, and I take your word for it. Of course, there's also the 13 and 13 too.
Yeah, but who cares?
But yeah, that my week was mostly trying to beat 6 before this podcast started.
You poor bastard! Like 6 is not a short game.
I finished around 39 hours.
Ooh, that's not too bad considering
and also considering the fact that I did leave it on sometimes so I could take a shit or eat or something.
You could turn your PS3 off, man. It's not. This isn't.
Not when you're not when you're nowhere close to a save point. You aren't.
Oh, you know what? That's true.
Oh, I was just saying no. You can't because no.
Save points are a problem.
I mean, Super Nintendo days, that was fine. People did that shit all the time. Like, don't fucking turn it off. That was how people beat Mario 3. Don't turn the Nintendo off.
Yeah, like on Nintendo. I was just saying no though because I mean. Why bother when you're that committed?
With that though, I guess I can get into some of the shenanigans I've been up to.
What non-Assassin's Creed games have you been playing lately?
A couple. But really, there's only so much I can say about some of these. A lot of my time I've been playing Borderlands the pre-sequel. Sad thing though, there's not really a whole lot I can say about it. Like nothing that I haven't.
Borderlands. If you like Borderlands,
it's the fucking treadmill, you know. And the thing is, I'm okay with the treadmill. It's not Destiny, you know, to where I'm like fuck this. No, this is like okay, cool, more guns here, and then it's like I can min-max this character to play with friends here, and I even got into a friend's game once, which was kind of cool.
So would you say that someone like me who found the first game dreadfully boring and the second game still kind of sort of boring, you would not recommend this for me, would you?
Pre-sequel, no, because let's be honest, Borderlands 2 so far is the highlight of the franchise, and if that's not the one that brings you around, pre-sequel especially, it's like, not.
I love that game's writing. I just find the actual act of playing the game to be dreadfully boring. Some
of the writing's okay in the pre-sequel. There's been some kind of humorous stuff about it, but of course, because it is a prequel, there are some things that are a little predictable about it, to where it's like, okay, yeah, so this is what leads up to this thing that took place here.
Well, Handsome Jack must turn evil at some point.
Yeah, basically. Well, he kind of is kind of dickish, but you know he's not complete asshole yet. But I guess some things I can comment on was because I'm a sucker, I bought the season pass, and so far there's been
not materialized.
Well, there's been like one like DLC area, which is like some kind of arena thing that I don't fucking know about. I haven't messed with it. I think it's a Slaughter Dome, where it's one of those things where it's like you fight waves and blah blah blah. That's never really held too much interest to me. Main reason I got the season pass though is like, okay, this is cheaper. It is cheaper to buy the season pass than to buy the extra character classes separately, and they have come out with both of them. The first one was Jack the Doppelganger, who is Jack's body double, So it's kind of a way of saying, like, you could play as Handsome Jack, but not really.
I have to admit that Borderlands' DLC models for both 2 and from what I'm hearing about the pre-sequel, they've both felt not. I don't want to say slimy, but I kind of do want to say slimy.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. You would not be wrong for thinking that.
Because when I think Season Pass, what immediately comes to my mind is I buy this one thing now, and no matter what DLC come out with, I have access to it.
They've kind of.
But,
I mean,
but Borderlands does not do that, and it kind of angers me.
I will say that, if anything, they tell you up front what you get with it. Because Borderlands 2, they basically said, there's going to be 4 packs that are going to come out, and this is what you get with it. But with the pre-sequel, they basically said, okay, this is going to get you the 2 characters that we're making, and like a couple extra things that we're going to do. So,
and I know that. I instinctively, I intellectually understand that they're not being slimy, and they're acknowledging that from the outset, but it still bothers me.
Yeah. I'm not saying you have to get it. Yeah. And as well as the fact, there's nothing wrong with waiting until everything is out.
I mean, there really, by all rights, should be, especially Borderlands 2 at this point, an all-in-one package for DLC.
I know they have the Game of the Year edition coming out, and for pre-sequel especially, they're going to put out another edition that comes out on PS4 and Xbone with like all the stuff thrown into it. I mean,
I guess I didn't actually know that Borderlands 2 had. Isn't the Game of the Year edition only for like the Vita though? The one that has all the DLC in it?
No, they're coming. They have the Game of the Year edition for consoles.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it still has a problem with me playing Borderlands 2, but at least that's acceptable.
And, and I acknowledge the fact, like, pre-sequel is basically Borderlands 2 again. There's no other way around it. Mechanics-wise and everything. But
from the guy that brought you that last stuff, it's more of the same.
Well, at least this time it was actually done by a different team. It was people in Australia, which is why the moon is Australia. But I discussed that, previously. But... And, also, I didn't pay for pre-sequel. It came with my video card, so I got the game free. Thanks, NVIDIA. But yeah, so Jack the Doppelganger, he's one of the DLC characters that you can get. And he still fits in with the idea that the playable characters at one point were like bosses of some kind. Because 2 of them, especially, one of them... Shit, I forget her name. She's like the cowboy chick who is considered the lawbringer. She was a boss.
Her name started with a T.
I think. I
want to say Tasha or something.
Possibly, I don't know. But like, she was a sheriff in one town in Borderlands 2 who was like a psycho, and you end up having to murder her. Yeah. And then there was also Wilhelm, he was a boss in Borderlands 2, and he's a playable character in this. The Claptrap, though, I don't think he was a boss character of any kind. So, it's just, here's a fucking Claptrap. Athena, she was a character that you fought against in the General Knox DLC from the original Borderlands game. And then, so you have Jack the Doppelganger. You actually fought Jack's body double as a boss, not exactly a boss fight, but you had to kill him in Borderlands 2. So, again, it kind of goes back to that thing of this was a character that was an NPC in the second game, to where you had to fight that, he was Jack's body double. So he's a playable character class. His whole special ability is, like, he summons holographic versions of himself that, kind of fight for him. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Some of the writing for his character, I think, is really well done. Like, the lengths they went through, not only to record dialogue for him, to, like, not just make it sound like he's just talking to people, but the way people also react to him, they've also kind of recorded some more dialogue for. Like, there's this one scene where he runs into Moxie, and, because you meet Moxie at the bar, and story-wise, Jack and Moxie were dating at one point. Mm-hmm. And then they split up, and when you play as Jack the body double, his body double, he sees her and he's all, kind of head over heels. He's like, "Are you sure we're not dating?" And she specifically says, she's like, "Yeah, I'm sure, and I know a body double from the real thing." Like, there's all kinds of different stuff like that for some of the other NPCs where they just recorded more lines specifically for that character, which I think are kind of cool. But other than that, it's like, here's another playable class who's got his own special ability and skill trees and stuff. So if you want that, there you go. The other character who I think is a little bit more interesting, simply because she has a little bit more interesting circumstances and backstory to her. They added this character called Ariella, or Arella, or however you pronounce her name. Her character class is the Baroness, and she has these ice powers to where she has this kind of probe that she'll let loose, and it will freeze dudes. And because cryo damage was a thing they introduced in the pre-sequel, to where dudes can just be frozen, you could walk up and smack them and they shatter. It's pretty cool.
You sure her name's not Elsa?
Nope.
I was just thinking.
Yeah, it's totally Ariella. Bear with me on this. So she's also commonly referred to as Lady Hammerlock because she is Sir Hammerlock's sister. And she actually has like a little echo recorder thing on her, talking about how Sir Hammerlock wants nothing to do with her because she was a royal bitch, and she just constantly teased him, so he wants nothing to do with her, just hates her guts. And she really is kind of a bitch in this. She's this.
He's letting go, seriously.
She's a character that is so rich, and she's got this posh British voice, and because, like I said, she's Hammerlock's sister.
Because of course she does.
And it's kind of funny when Jack talks to her. It's like, it's like, oh, okay, I need you to go and do this. And she's like, I'm sorry, but I have difficulty understanding the poor. And apparently, I think her backstory is kind of hilarious, is the fact, like I said, she's a baroness, and she is so rich that she owns an entire planet. And her reason for hunting a vault is because she's bored and she's thrill-seeking on holiday. That's her reason for hunting the vault, is because she's bored. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, exactly. She has some good lines that, that pretty much establish the fact that she's doing this for entirely selfish reasons. And granted, a lot of the character classes are pretty much just the kind of selfish characters, like who cares, but I just kind of thought her character and her dialogue just is especially funny, so I'm still not playing too much with her, because, like I said, my main class right now is Athena, who is the gladiator, and that's who I've actually been playing through the story. Like, if I'm going to complete the game, that's who I'm going to do it with first. But like I said, other than the DLC, there's not really a whole lot else to mention about that game, so not really going to say anything about that. But speaking of DLC, and once again, wish Sam was here to talk about this, is the fact they dropped another DLC pack for Hyrule Warriors on the Wii. Got that Hyrule Warriors Majora's Mask pack. So what this adds, there's 2 new characters. You have Young Link, who has... and also, this feels like Nintendo perfectly timed this shit, because Majora's Mask remake came out on the 3DS. And now you've got this Majora's Mask...
Of course they timed it, dude.
Yeah, now you've got this Majora's Mask themed DLC for Hyrule Warriors, and so it adds Young Link as a character, which... that's a no-brainer. Of course, fucking give us Young Link. And the thing is, his costume, he has like a couple masks on him, on his costume, from Majora's Mask. Like, he has the yellow Keaton mask, which is basically kind of looks like a Pikachu, and he has the Fierce Deity mask on him. And what that allows him to do, like any of his like special moves, he'll throw that on and he'll turn into the Fierce Deity form for a few seconds to do some badass attack, which is kind of cool. Let's see. There is also the second DLC character they add is Tingle. Fucking Tingle is a character in Hyrule Warriors.
Americans hate Tingle.
His weapon is the balloon. I don't even know what else to say about that, other than fucking Tingle. Kalumpa.
Yeah.
So you get that. You get another challenge map for the adventure mode. Because God help you if you need more of those. And there's some costumes. There's one that just dresses up one of these chicks as the Skull Kid from Majora's Mask. So again, kind of keeping with the theme of that. I thought the Young Link character was probably the thing I really liked the most, because I like how he plays. It's kind of interesting. Not much to say about that, other than...
So when will we get Zelda in a bikini?
Well, you've got at least several different characters. By the way, okay, I'm going to mention this. So they also came out with some costume packs. Now, these aren't included in, like, the season pass thing, whatever, but who cares? They're $1. And they basically released costumes for Zelda, Link, and Ganon based on Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, or Twilight Princess. And the thing that I found really hilarious about the Twilight Princess, comparing the Twilight Princess skins to the other ones, for some reason, the Twilight Princess skins have this dark shade to them that make them look like their color palette is like shit brown. Like, here's Zelda, and here's grim and gritty Zelda. Like, here's Link,
That's
grim and
not
dark.
swimsuit Zelda. I'm disappointed.
It's
now.
like, here's Zelda, here's grim dark Zelda. Here's Link, here's grim dark Link. It's basically the Twilight Princess costumes are the grim dark version of characters. It's so dumb. It's
well,
like,
I mean, if I recall, Twilight Princess was kind of like the quote-unquote grim dark Zelda.
it really was. It really was. And it's really weird comparing, like, how the color palettes of those costumes are, like, the mud brown shit color palette versus the bright and colorful stuff of either the standard Hyrule Warriors stuff or from anything else in the Zelda franchise. So,
it is kind of funny.
So, other than that, like I said, the only things I've really can mention about those is DLC. But the one game that I've been investing some time into recently, oh god, is Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z.
Oh
man.
Oh man.
So,
tell me about Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z. You know what, Chris? I'm sorry too.
So I paid $8 for this on Amazon, just to be clear.
Which is about $7.99 too many.
Because originally I was going to see if I get this on PC, because this is on Steam, but they're selling that for $30, and I'm like, no way. No way. I don't care if Total Biscuit likes it. No way. But
Total Biscuit likes it, of course.
So I got it on PS3, and I've been playing around with it. I mean, it is essentially a character action game, just maybe a little shittier, because it's basically you go through each level, and it's almost like Bayonetta, where you're just going from one arena fight to the next. Platforming is kind of minimal, to where it's like you'll see him wall run up stuff, but you're just pushing a button, like you're not even holding forward, and then you go around and just beat the shit out of dudes. Occasionally you'll solve a puzzle, but it's not too...
It's God of War.
I want to say God of War's puzzles are a lot more in-depth than this, but this really is... It is a beat-em-up, plain and simple. And, controls are fairly simple. It's like you don't even have a jump, per se, as you just kind of dash. And you have one button. You have 3 different attack buttons. One is your sword. One is your rocket fist. Which, by the way, you're a rocket fist. You have that. And then the other is like a chain flail that you also have.
Now, I've been led to believe that all ninjas are cyborgs with vibrating katanas. Is this true?
No, you're a cyborg. You are a cyborg ninja with a broken katana. But so yeah, just just to give you an idea of how serious this game takes itself, or how seriously you should even take the game, the premise is you're a cyborg ninja fighting zombies. Do I need to say any more?
Slow or fast zombies?
Slow zombies. They are all slow zombies.
Very fun.
I mean, they're all slow zombies, and there are some that come at you with weapons, and there are some that breathe fire and vomit goo and have electricity. But yeah, it's basically you're a cyborg ninja fighting zombies, and occasionally there's bosses. But yeah, like, and the thing about it, this is why this is even worth talking about. The writing, it's either this is trying too hard to be funny, or it's so bad it's good. Because the writing is ridiculous, to say the least, and sometimes it's just, there's a lot of like misogyny, and just like the character who is the title character, Yaiba. Just to kind of briefly explain the premise of this is that Yaiba was this asshole ninja, and he gets into a fight with Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden series. And by the way, that's really the only thing that ties us into the Ninja Gaiden series, is the fact that Ryu...
I just realized Ninja Gaiden Z means Ninja Gaiden Zombies.
Yeah, basically. That's basically it. But basically, Yaiba has a fight with Ryu. Ryu kills him, and Yaiba gets resurrected as a cyborg, and now he's trying to track down Ryu and kill him, all while going through zombies. That's basically it. That's basically it. And the thing is, like, this game wears its heart on its sleeve of how misogynist and sexist it is, and just how, like, every single joke, like, there's some slapstick physical comedy, but every single joke has some form of innuendo in some way or another. In one scene of something that I played today in, like, the second or third level that I was in, you have to get into this burning building, which apparently was a strip club of some kind. I can only assume.
Of course it was.
Because the building had these two giant legs sticking up out of it that are wearing fishnets.
Of course they were.
In order to like put out the fires and get into it, you have to blow it up. And Yaiba does this by throwing a zombie into a semi-truck, and for some reason, when you throw zombies into certain things, they just automatically, like, drive or activate something, but he throws a zombie into a nearby semi-truck, the truck drives between the legs, causes an explosion, and panties rain down.
I know you keep saying Yaiba, but I can't help but hear the word Kaiba and assume we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Maybe it's the same difference, just in this game...
Now I want a game where Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Kills a bunch of zombies with a dual disc.
But let me repeat what I just said, though. A semi-truck drives in between giant legs, causing an explosion and panties to rain down from the sky.
Oh, God. I didn't hear that part.
Yep.
Ew.
Yep. Semi-truck drives...
Am I right? Am I right, Garrett? Women.
Mm-hmm.
This is funny to 12-year-olds these days, right?
And then, of course, like, you know, like a mini boss shows up, and you get this lady who helps him. She's called Miss Monday, and she's just dressed for, here's my cleavage. No, look at my cleavage though, and granted, that's actually something that, you know, can be compared to other Ninja Gaiden games, which I'll get to in a minute, but. Like, just to give you an example of the writing in this game, like, you blow it up, panties are raining down out of the sky, and then this fire-breathing fat zombie shows up, and she says, "Who's that flaming fat fuck?" And Yaiba, your title character, goes, "I don't know, but he's ruining my fucking panty party."
That's so stupid.
He's ruining my fucking panty party.
If I wasn't laughing right now, I'd be in tears because how stupid that is.
What's this game rated?
This is rated M for mature. And looking at the back of the box,
who developed this? Was this the same guys that made the regular Ninja Gaiden games?
Okay, so to give you the developer list, published by Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja, Concept. But the big one is Spark Unlimited. And if you don't know who they are, Spark Unlimited was responsible, most recently, they worked on Lost Planet 3, as well. There are a couple other games, but the other big one that comes to mind that Spark Unlimited did was a god-awful shooter called Legendary.
Oh, the box. The one that Jim Sterling tried Let's Play but got exceptionally bored and stopped doing.
Yep. You know, something Sam would want in his collection. But...
I actually bought that game, and I still haven't played it, and I'm never going to. I bought it for $1.49 on Steam.
Oh, man. Also, here's another little tidbit of writing from this game that I have to sample you with, is like, between levels, you get these kind of motion comic-esque cutscenes as Yaiba is narrating over it, and there's this one main character... who I forget his name. He's kind of in charge of the big company that brought you back to life, and Yaiba just kind of looks at him and says, he's like, he kept talking about all this stuff.
Please tell me that Yaiba has a very gruff voice.
Oh yeah, he does. And what's funny is that not only does he have a
Aiden Pierce, or is it not that bad?
Well, here's the thing. He does have a gruff voice, and surprisingly enough, he is not played by Stephen Blum, whom, if you know your voice actor, Stephen Blum is mostly known for any recent take on Wolverine.
Or Wolverine, yeah.
Yeah, Wolverine's always a... Yeah, he plays a lot of stuff like that.
If it's not Hugh Jackman, it's Steve Blum doing the voice.
Yeah, but that is not who plays Yaiba. I forget the guy's name, but I looked it up. But
What else does he play?
But let me just to sample you some of this writing. Like Yaiba talks about this boss dude, and he's like, he kept going on about all kinds of stuff. Just came off as a big dick. I guess that made him a dickhead. Like that right there.
Ow! That hurts.
Yeah, I know. Hurts. I know. It's so bad.
That's as painful as reading a Twilight novel. More so, even.
Oh yeah, it's that right there.
That's worse than my puns.
That right there should sum up how serious this game takes itself. And granted, it doesn't. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. And there are people that would shit on it, saying oh well, the Ninja Gaiden games are much more mature. No, they're not. It's just that the Ninja Gaiden games, while they show women with, clad in spandex and leather and massive cleavage, those games take themselves seriously. That's the thing. That's really the only thing different about this. This game doesn't at all. So, as far as actually playing the game, like I said, it's a beat 'em up, and there's some occasional puzzle solving. There are a number of times where I've had to repeat whole sections because the checkpoints are spread out kind of far. And the only reason I make reference to Bayonetta is because Bayonetta does this thing where you go from one arena to the next, and you get a rating on how well you did in that arena, and then it all kinds of adds up. Yaiba does the same thing. And if you fuck up in the middle of one of those arenas, guess what? You have to do the whole thing again. That's how checkpoints work in this. So there were a number of sections I already had to repeat because there are some times where I felt like the game was making it more difficult for the wrong reasons. Like, for instance, everything is cel-shaded, and you move around so quickly, and there's just a lot of stuff just flashing and popping and everything.
Particles.
Yeah, not to mention the very large crowds of zombies that you run into. It's very hard to lose sight of your character, especially when the camera is zoomed out. I mean, the camera is zoomed out far for a reason, so you can see everything. But it's hard to see where you are sometimes. Like, I lose the character on screen, and it's even worse when your health gets low because everything goes into black and white. Yeah. And then it's even harder. So, yeah, there have been some frustrating moments like that, but I'm still kind of wanting to play through this game. Like, I really have to see what this game does for its ending, and just the like I said, there are some times where the writing is so bad it's good, but then there are other times where I feel like it's just trying too hard. Because when it fails hard. Like, he just seemed like a dick. Guess that made him a dickhead. Like why?
That's worse than any pun I've ever said in my life.
It is. It really is. And you've said some stupid shit on this show.
My worst pun is better than their best joke.
My question is, does that count as a pun? Is it a pun?
I don't think it is. It's just
no. It's worse. It's some sort of like tangentially related side comment that's supposed to be funny but isn't.
To this game, that's deductive reasoning, probably. Yeah, by the way, if you're curious on the rating on this, like I said, it's rated M. Blood and gore, drug reference, intense violence, sexual themes, strong language.
I'm not sure what his rating is on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, you'll find out after I beat it.
How far are you in the game?
I started playing it yesterday, so I'm really only up to about the 3rd level.
Are we going to have another Ninja Blade Let's Play, or is this not going to be on air?
It won't be on air, because like I said, I got it on PS3. If I'd gotten it for PC, I probably would have done an LP of it, but that's not going to happen, so Yeah, this fucking game. Holy shit.
This fucking game.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like, there was something about this that I kind of felt like maybe this is just one of those oddities. Because despite the fact that like the reviews have been mostly negative, but you still get people once in a while that say this isn't as bad as they are saying. Like Total Biscuit, like he was playing the PC version in a WTF video of his, and he was kind of saying that the gameplay isn't as bad. But granted, I don't think even he would say this is worth full price. Because just for shits and giggles, I actually looked this up. They sell this game digitally on PSN. Guess how much?
30.
Nope.
15.
Nope.
Am I getting
$40? 40?
Nope.
10.
Is it higher or lower?
They are selling this for 60 on PSN.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. So digital copy.
I don't think I even sold at my work for that much. And
No.
we do have copies laying around somewhere.
I remember the last time I saw one of these in a store, it was $15.
Yeah,
at, like,
that's
a
what they
Walmart.
were. That's what they are at my work.
And like I said,
$15.
I bought this brand new off Amazon for like $8. Like,
That's embarrassing.
it's not a bad $8 either.
Oh.
For the fucking gold that is the writing in this game. I can't help but feel like...
he was a bit of a dick. Guess that makes him a dickhead.
Yep. I don't know who he is, but he's interrupting my fucking panty party. Like,
Episode 25 of the Texture Pop, my fucking panty party.
Yep, totally go with that title.
My fucking panty party.
Yeah, because Yaiba himself, I guess the last thing I'll close on, he is not a likable character. The game pretty much tells you...
Oh, really? He's not likable?
No, he is an incredible ass. He is...
Oh, really? I hadn't gathered that.
Yeah, he really is just this piece of shit that he's really only killing zombies because he wants to go after Ryu Hayabusa, and that's...
Quite frankly, if you thought he was a good guy, I would have been surprised.
No, he's not. He totally isn't. I think that's another reason why even the developer, like, the whole tone of this game doesn't take itself seriously, because it really does cast you in the shoes of an asshole, and the game does not sugarcoat that at all. Like, there is nothing sympathetic about his character whatsoever. He is a piece of shit, and that's basically who you were playing. That's... Man, this game. I'm looking forward to finishing it, to be honest with you. Not in the way, not in the way I was looking forward to finishing Assassin's Creed 3, just be done with it. No, I'm looking forward to finishing it because I want to see what the hell else does this have in store. Like, what is all there?
You see, you claim that you don't have Sam's fascination for bad games. What you do? You really do.
I mean, I'll admit, there's some stuff I won't touch, like Ride to Hell Retribution. No, no. Absolutely not.
You played Assassin's Creed 3 knowing damn well what you were getting yourself into.
At least Assassin's Creed 3, there were good reviews of it out there.
I suppose.
There are people that liked it. I wasn't one of them.
Play Loco Psycho.
A Loco Cycle?
I recall hating it pretty much... I recall hating Assassin's Creed 3 as I was playing it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to go back to it.
Yeah.
I think with that we can probably call it right there. So, our usual, probably any kind of usual plugs. Brandon, I know you're doing Interactive Friction with Sam.
Yes, and we have finally gotten out of the filler part of Far Cry 3 and gotten to the part where the story becomes even more bullshit.
Oh man, got to see that.
And aside from that, I finally posted an article about Infamous First Light where I talk about how removing the karma system from an Infamous game made it better.
Mm-hmm. I think that really is all we have to plug at the moment. Unless Garrett, you got something going on.
Not really.
Yeah, neither do I. But
well, hey. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Texture Pop popping off.
Yep, and we'll see you all next week. Later.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.